Hello, my name is Farooq and welcome to my channel Ministry of Literature. I'm extremely happy because the channel recently crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark, and so if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the right time to do it. Many of my IELTS students were asking me to post videos on the test. I couldn't do it, unfortunately, for some time because I was busy with my CELTA course. Now that I've completed, here's one of the first videos on the IELTS test. In fact, before this, I also posted, I did a live session on the writing task 2. You can check out that video as well. It's on YouTube. In this video, I'm going to talk about the format of the test. And this video will be most beneficial to those who are gearing up towards the IELTS preparation, who just started preparing, in fact. So without further ado, let's look at the structure of the test and familiarize ourselves with the requirements. IELTS is the International English Language Testing System and is jointly owned by British Council, the IDP Australia, and Cambridge Assessments. It is more than 25 years old, and the scores are accepted by institutions around the world, academic institutions, employers, and even government agencies. And this is accepted in over 140 countries. The test is conducted almost every week. A total of 48 tests are conducted in a year around the world in about more than 16,000 test centers. There are two versions of the test, academic and general training. Academic is for those who are looking to apply in universities, in colleges for higher education in countries where English is the first language, while the general training is for those who are looking to migrate to countries such as Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., or even for employment. Now, please remember, you will have to choose the right test because this will reflect in your TRF, which is the test report form. The institutions you're applying to will want the right versions to be attempted. Like all English proficiency tests, IELTS also assesses 4 skills, which are listening and reading, which are called the receptive skills, and then writing and speaking, which are the productive skills. In terms of scoring, there is really no pass or fail. You will get your score in a band scale from 1 to 9, 1 being the lowest, 1 is referred to as the non-user, and 9 being the highest or the expert user. Each component of the test is given a particular band score, and then an average is taken to report the overall band in your test. You will write the LRW, which is listening, reading, and writing, in one sitting and in that order. And speaking usually happens before or after the LRW session, or sometimes it can happen on the same day as well. Now let's look at the time for each of these modules. The academic and general training candidates will have the same listening and speaking test, and the time for listening is 30 plus 10. 30 minutes is the listening test and 10 minutes is to transfer your answers, while speaking test you get about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, reading and writing is where the difference really lies, and for reading you spend 60 minutes and for writing you are given another 60 minutes. So it's just that the reading and writing are different for academic and general candidates. So it is important for you to look at the question paper and make sure you've got the right question paper on the day of the test. I'm going to talk about each of the modules individually. Let's start off with listening because that's, like I said, that's the first one that you will write. As mentioned earlier, listening test is for a total of 40 minutes, 30 minutes out of which you will be listening to an audio, and 10 minutes is given for you to transfer your answer from the question booklet to the answer sheet. Over the 30 minutes, you will listen to 4 different audio clips. Each of these audio clips can either be a monologue or a dialogue, and it can also be from different places. So it is good to familiarize yourselves with accents from Australia, UK, Canada, US, etc. Please note that you are doing different things at the time of listening test. You are first reading the questions, then you will listen to the audio, you will write down the answers at the same time, and then of course later you will transfer them. So it is important for us to multitask. Please spend a lot of time practicing because it includes a lot of skills. In fact, it's not just listening, it is comprehension skills that you're being tested on. These 4 sections will contain 40 questions, which is 10 questions each. It is important for you to answer all of them because every answer carries 1 mark, and these marks are then converted into your band score. Let us look at a table and understand what your raw score needs to be if you need a particular band. If your score is 35, if your raw score is 35, which means you've written 35 right answers, you get a band score of 8. If it is 30, you get a band score of 7, etc. Please note that the section 1 of listening is the easiest and section 4 is the most difficult. The sections get progressively difficult, right? So it is important for us to be aware of that. Make sure you know these when you're practicing. The next section is the reading, or the next test is the reading. Please note that you have different questions for academic candidates and general training candidates. The difference really is in the articles that have been selected. General training candidates will get 1 or 2 shorter passages in the first, second, and the third passage, while the academic candidates get 1 long article for each of the passages. So in effect, your academic candidates usually get 3 passages, 3 long passages, and general candidates may get anywhere between 4 to 5 passages. Sometimes they are smaller. However, please note that the time is still the same. It's just 60 minutes. And also something that students get confused with is there is no time to transfer your answers in the last 10 minutes or so. You have to do everything, that is reading the questions, reading the passages, and writing the answers all in that 60 minutes. So there's no extra time. Please don't get confused with that, and make sure you manage your time well. My suggestion always has been to dedicate a certain amount of time for each of the passages. So I generally suggest to use about 20 minutes for passage 1, 20 minutes for passage 2, and 20 minutes for passage 3. In fact, passage 1 you could still use about 10 or 15 minutes because it is the easiest, and again it gets difficult as you go into different passages. So if you are using about, let's say, 15 minutes for the first passage, 20 minutes and 20 minutes for the second and third, you still have about 5 minutes left where you can review and make sure you write down all the answers in the answer sheet. Some students find it a little difficult. They feel that 1 hour is not enough, but let me tell you, with good practice, you can still finish it comfortably in an hour. I wrote the IELTS test twice, once academic and once general training, and both the times I was happy I was able to comfortably finish it in about 50 minutes. So you can certainly do it with good amount of practice, with good techniques in how to read for the information that you're looking for. You will find different kinds of questions here. You will find fill up the blank. You will find sentence completion, true, false, not given, or matching certain answers. So it is important for us to really look at different techniques for different kinds of questions, and that's the most important thing in reading. Let's once again look at the raw score and the band score conversions. We see again it is a little different for academic and general training candidates. Some academic students find it difficult with the reading also because they have longer sections. You can see here 35 raw score gives you a band score of 8, and 38 band score in general training gives you a band score of 8. So it is a little difficult, and that's why the scores are a little different. But these scores have been taken from the official IELTS website. You can have a look at it. This is the link for the website. Let's move on to the next module, writing, which some students certainly find a little challenging, but trust me, there are certain strategies that you can use to make this easy for you. The writing test contains task 1 and task 2 for both general and academic students. The task 2 remains the same for both. It's an essay type question. We'll talk about that. But task 1 is where the difference is. For general training candidates, the task 1 is to write a letter, while for task 2 candidates is to report an infographic. Now, this infographic is basically information in the form of graphs, bar charts, pie charts, line graph, tables, processes, etc. Please note that there is a minimum word requirement for both task 1 and task 2. For task 1, it is 150 words, and task 2, it is 250 words. It is important for you to follow the minimum word requirement. Don't write anything below 150 or 250 words because that will result in lower marks. You always need to write a little higher. So my advice to you is aim for a 170 to 190 for task 1 and about 270 to 290 for task 2. We can't write too much because one, there's no time, and second, there's not much of information available. With regard to the time, spend about 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2, because task 1 is for less marks, and task 2 is worth more marks. You're given one sheet each for task 1 and task 2. Generally, for task 1, we are able to complete in the sheet that is provided. For task 2, sometimes some students ask for additional sheets, which is available. You can ask for it. But also please remember to write the correct task in the right sheet. So the task 1 needs to go into the task 1 answer sheet, task 2 needs to go into the task 2 answer sheet. Don't get confused with them. There, of course, it is mentioned there, so you just need to read and use the correct sheet. Moving on to the speaking. It's a face-to-face exam, so some students do feel a little nervous. It's just a little bit of practice that you need. The actual test will happen for about 11 to 15 minutes. It contains 3 parts. Part 1 is a general introduction section where the examiner asks you questions about yourself, your likes and dislikes, your hobbies, etc. Very generic questions that you can answer. Part 2 is where you are given a cue card. There's a question on it, and then there are 3 questions or sub points that are given to you, something like this. Now you're given 1 minute to think about what are you going to say. You could also make notes in case you want. You will be provided with a pencil and a paper, and you will have 2 minutes to talk about it. So you will get 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to speak. Please note, you will have to speak for the entire 2 minutes. Speaking for less will sometimes reduce the marks. In fact, not sometimes, it reduces the marks. So it is important for you to speak for the entire duration of 2 minutes. Now, part 3 is where you have a little bit of a discussion. In fact, the examiner asks you questions about what you have spoken in the part 2. So it's simply an extension of what you have spoken in part 2. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. In fact, there's no right or wrong answer in any of the sections, especially when you're doing the writing task 2 as well. It's mostly your opinions that the examiner will want to know, and there's really no right or wrong opinion as long as you're able to justify them. Same thing with the part 3 as well. In speaking, you just need to write your opinion. You need to speak about your opinion. Tell the examiner what you feel about a certain thing. So maybe the question could be about, do you think a lot of food is wasted in the parties? And you either say, yes, I think a lot of food is wasted, or you say no, but you also need to justify that. So that's all in this video about IELTS, the format, the structure of the test. And I have already, like I mentioned, had a live session on writing task 2. The format of the questions, the type of questions that you get, and how you can approach them. Please have a look at that. If you have any questions about IELTS, please let me know in the comments section. I will address them in the future. I will make a lot more videos regularly about IELTS and as well as literature. So please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon again.